What a day. You look lonely.
Half-Life 3 being announced at the TGAs is looking more likely as the days pass, which is the opposite trend of your love life. The reason why I think this is going to be less coherent than a Biden speech at midnight and less cogent than a Trump speech at any point of the day. So I'm going to show this picture on the screen, and what you're looking at here is the shittiest advent calendar to have ever advented. A nursing home is more eventful than this, is what I would say if I was a slug-brained, dunderhead, cretinous, sign-tapping chud, because I am genuinely starting to believe that the TGAs is the prophetic and apocryphal happening. However, if you were to point a gun to my head and ask me to bet all my money on it happening on that day, I would most likely not oblige. So let's delve into the best reasons for a TGA announcement. The first reason should be obvious to anyone, and none of the dates other than this make any sense, because all these dates at first glance seem insubstantial and random. But as we know, with Valve, they are the random company. Secondly, Valve has a historic interest in the TGAs. They were going to showcase Half-Life Alyx at the TGAs. That is until they had to work more on the game. But we are selective, and we only care about our confirmation bias, so we are going to ignore that part. Let me read this tweet in its totality.
We're sorry to say Half-Life Alyx won't be shown at the Game Awards tonight. The team is hard at work on the game, and we're excited to show you more in the new year as we approach the March release.
Now, the reason why I am showing you this is to demonstrate that Valve has had a historic interest in the TGAs insofar as showcasing their games. More importantly, however, Half-Life Alyx was announced before the TGAs with, from what I can extrapolate, is a expectation that it was going to be shown at the TGAs. Now this could mean that Half-Life 3 might be announced before the TGAs and then showcased at the TGAs to build hype. Likewise, the TGAs are arguably the biggest gaming event of the entire year. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves, and let's look at the other side of the coin. The most glaring and obvious counter-argument to the historic interest argument is that historically, nothing has ever happened at the TGAs. However, I think this counter-argument is kind of like the gambler's fallacy. That is, just because it landed 20 times on nothing doesn't mean this time it's gonna land on nothing because of the precedent. Now I'm doing essentially the same thing by looking at the calendar and thinking it's gonna happen on the TGAs because nothing has happened within these couple days thus far. But from a contextual standpoint, I can't help but draw this conclusion. It's like the biggest award show. Half-Life 3 being announced would be the biggest announcement of all time. And Half-Life 3, from what we've seen in the leaked code, does seem to be a fairly technologically advanced game that could have a lot of fucking showcasey moments. Because the Half-Life games are kind of like tech demos. And I don't want to use that description flippantly because it is quite disparaging and a debasing description, because that does not wholly encapsulate the Half-Life games in any way. This is all to just illustrate the point that these games are made to be showcased. Another counter argument is that if it is going to be announced at the TGAs, we would have leaks by now. And this, to me, is kind of convincing. Another thing going against the TGA announcement thing is that all the announcement rumors and leaks didn't dismiss or categorically reject outright the idea of it happening at the TGAs, but were kind of insistent that it was not going to happen on the TGAs, saying that it is unlikely. Ultimately, I have no fucking idea. But if I were to bet on a random day, out of our selection here of December, I would probably choose the TGAs from a pure statistical likeliness standpoint. On the contrary, however, I would feel just as safe as not betting on the TGAs. So, I don't know. In spite of all of this, I still think shit is gonna go down this month. But I am not God. I cannot predict the exact time and day. In fact, I'm betting against Gaben, the god, and the house usually wins, okay? So, I don't know, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments because stuff is getting interesting and stuff is, to me, ramping at a breakneck speed. That is, we are creeping ever so closer. So, just let me know what I missed. Let me know your thoughts that are unique to this discussion, please.